Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys and gals about the idea that every single rep range has value for getting you brutally strong and getting jacked. And again, this is something to where people, they want to argue all the time about rep ranges without realizing that all the greatest masters, all the greatest coaches learned long ago how to mix the different rep ranges. They learned how to weave these things together to create some of the most jacked, brutally strong, just human beings on the face of the earth. Create great athletes, great bodybuilders, great power lifters, strongman fighters, everyone. So this idea that people want to get confined to some rep range is dogmatic, when the reality is I'm going to be dogmatic and say you probably want to use all the rep ranges, okay? Now, I'm saying this as someone who's standing here right here in these videos doing this. I'm 48 years old. I've been doing this a while. You guys are watching me just rep out 550 on a deadlift, do an easy 500 back squat here with no sleeves or anything. And this is just my normals. This is how I train every week. But if you step back and you look at, let's say you take the masters like Louis Simmons. Louis Simmons was literally like, we need to train every rep range, and we need to do 20s, 30s, 50s. We need to do heavy singles. Okay? You had guys like Louis Simmons literally had all these champions, and I'm talking champions in multiple sports. He had them coming in hitting heavy singles on all sorts of exercises. Against bands, against chains, deficit deadlifts, sumo deadlifts, conventional deadlifts, even sometimes rack pulls, various squat bars, box squats, back squats, front squats, good mornings. Like there's guys at Westside who were doing good mornings with 700 or 800 pounds for one rep. Okay, benching, floor presses, incline, everything. Using different bars, bands, chains, off pins, boards, right? Maxing. Right, they used singles, but it was only 5% of the training. Then they would do speed work, explosive work for 2 to 3 reps, 2 to 5 reps, right? With explosive weights, oftentimes against bands and chains, dead stops, ballistic training. But then they came in and they did all this other stuff. Like they did a lot of stuff into like the 8 to 12 for hypertrophy. So then you'd look at what they're doing. It's like, man, they're doing really heavy work on assistant stuff. You might do a max bench or whatever, then some heavy floor presses for 3 to 5s and some good mornings or something. Guys coming in doing really heavy triples and stuff, 3s, 4, 5s on good mornings after a max squat, a max deadlift variation. Okay, they would do all this stuff, but then you look over and before long, then they're doing machines, right? It's like, oh man, now they're doing sets of 12 on a belt squat or a leg press, okay? Oh man, now they're doing sets of 10 or 12 on rows, pull-ups. So you'd start looking at all this. You'd look at all this stuff and realize this is a normal thing for them. Right? They're using all these different rep ranges. Or, you're seeing heavy singles. You're seeing heavy 3 to 5 then for multiple sets on various assistance work. But then before long, it's 8 to 12 for hypertrophy on other movements like machines, dumbbells. And then you're like, wait, what? Now they're doing 20s, 30s, 50s when it comes to bands, maybe some press downs for triceps, rear delt things, reverse hyperextensions, band pull throughs. Now they would start getting into this really high metabolic conditioning work. And you would look at this and realize this is training for powerlifting. This is how this guy's building 800 pound squatters and deadlifters and guys who are benching 500, 600 pounds raw. Not just their equipped guys, right? This is how they're built. Hey, so you're watching them do this, and then it has them do conditioning work, because the whole idea also, if your GPP is high, getting out and doing sled drags, pushes, weighted carries, weight vest walks. Like I'm big on weight vest walks, right? Get your conditioning up, get your work capacity up. What happens? Your recovery goes up, okay? You burn through fat, you get leaner. So then we come to a whole nother point. What if you really want to be as lean and as jacked as possible? You add all that conditioning in. But the other thing is the conditioning builds your work capacity on the other stuff. It allows you to recover. And it's the same with even the really high metabolic conditioning stuff. Right? You come in and you would look at some of these guys and they would be doing 30, 40, 50 reps sometimes on stuff like reverse hypers, bands, build tendons, build blood flow, build work capacity. Right? This produces champions. So people want to stand around and argue about rep ranges, and they should be using all of it. But then you look how many then bodybuilders learn the same thing. It's some of the best bodybuilders. Look at how some of them trained. Right? And I hate to use the Ronnie Coleman. People always say if you use the Ronnie Coleman example, but you saw Ronnie Coleman doing heavy 1 and 2 rep sets, 800-pound squats and deadlifts for singles and doubles, 500-pound benches for doubles. Then he's over here doing 8 to 12s on other big free weight movements, overhead pressing, rows, front squats. I watched one where he was doing like sets of 12 with 405 on front squats after doing an 800-pound back squat. But then what else? And you look, and then all of a sudden you see this guy out here doing walking lunges for 10 minutes straight with a 185-pound barbell out in the parking lot. Okay? What is that? Is this high reps at this point? Is this GPP? Right? The lines start to blur. The lines start to blur at that point. Because we've gone from all these heavy singles and doubles all the way to all this hypertrophy work. Then all the way over to weight training, conditioning, and general physical preparedness. Now, granted, he's a genetic freak on a lot of gear, but you get the idea. How about Michael Hearn, arguably greatest physique of any guy up in his 50s that I've ever seen on the face of the earth. He does a power building approach, and you're training 5 days a week, where he's like, oh yeah, I do heavy 1 to 3 reps at the start of the workout. Okay? And some of it's real heavy, seriously heavy weight. Okay? Seen him doing reverse benches with 450, inclines with 405 for these low reps. Heavy box squats with over 500. Then he's over here doing a bunch of hypertrophy work, a bunch of 8, 10, 12 rep sets. But then he's doing conditioning, right? Higher intensity conditioning, just like Westside. All these people. So here's the thing, guys. Anyone who's over here talking to you about, oh yeah, here's your best rep range, that's it. No, you really should be using all of them. You should use them to feed into each other. If you want to get strong, if you want to get powerful, if you want to be jacked, you need to be using all these things. Your work capacity needs to be good. Your conditioning needs to be good. Okay, this is how you become a beast. This is how you become an absolute beast. Okay? And if you do it right, you don't get hurt. That's the main thing. This is where all the other stuff comes in, because you can't handle so much of that heavy stuff. You can handle a whole lot of sled drags and weighted carries and weight vest walks, though. And all that will help you do the other work. Then we have even some of that really high rep work actually helps with overall building recovery ability. Right? This stuff all feeds into itself. It feeds into each other. They create a synergy. Stop worrying about the best rep range and learn how to use all of them correctly in a synergistic fashion. That's your key.